Welcome once again to Train Tuesday. I'm your host, Jim Wiggins. So glad you are here. If you are joining us on the live stream, welcome. Thank you. If you're catching us on YouTube after the effect, welcome. And if you like what you see there, please, by all means, go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe and hit the notification bell. Well, you're going to know every time a new video from Athearn lands in our channel. We've seen some growth in the channel, and we really appreciate our newer subscribers that have joined. And if you've not done that yet, please go ahead and do us a favor. We're going to be doing a lot more videos coming into the 2024 year. Let's see who's joining us on the live stream tonight. I see Delta 9, Roger, Charles, Elko, Steam, Jackie, Sid, Apache, Ralph, Donnie, Brody, Ron, and Jason, just to name a few. I just saw a comment out there, you N-Scale guys. You are rabid, but I have to count myself as one of those rabid N-Scale fans. Yes, I too model an N-Scale. Do we have any N-Scale tonight? Yes, we do. We will be talking N-Scale. HO guys, I can hear you amongst your harumphs. We do have HO as well, so stay tuned for that. In fact, we've got some all-new tooling to discuss here tonight within the Athearn HO line. And we got some really interesting prototype stuff to talk about tonight, too. I also want to remind you guys, be watching your social media feed, and if you're part of our YouTube channel, be watching for notifications. We will be doing a special live Athearn Extra this coming Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central, and I have got some great stuff to talk with you about. We're going to be talking to John Sacerdoti of the Amherst Society. We'll be going to the big railroad show out there in Springfield, Massachusetts, and I want to bring John on board to talk about the show and maybe entice you to go out there. If you've not made that trip, you definitely owe it to yourself to make that trip. It is 2 days of pure model railroad nirvana. Also, I'm going to have a special treat. I've got some folks that are going to talk a little bit about the background to some of the GP18s that we're going to have featured for pre-order. And of course, I will be joined by Tony Cook to help host that show. So be watching for that notification. Again, that's going to be this Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central. Please tune in. It is a live extra, so you can definitely hang around and ask questions for the audience, for our guests. So let's do one more round of shout-outs and see who's here. I see DG Model Works has entered the house. Jason is here. KCG Rail Gilbert. Donnie. JD Boyd, KCG Rail Gilbert again. He is saying hello from cold Wisconsin, hello from central Illinois where it is 3 degrees. It finally warmed up. George, Mark, Colin, and Terry are all aboard. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started into some great model railroad stuff. And we're going to start with N-Scale tonight. So let's talk about these N-Scale cars. Oops, I apologize. We're having some difficulties with the StreamYard flow here. There we go. So we're going to be talking FMC cars tonight. And these FMC cars are going to be available in both N-Scale as well as HO. We're going to start with the N-Scale first, however. Now, let's talk about the prototype history of these cars. So it was the mid-1970s. The incentive per diem boxcar boom was just beginning. New brightly painted boxcars seemed to appear overnight, and many were lettered for various short lines. Now, FMC, or Food Machinery Corporation, was a significant builder of many of these cars. The 50-foot outside post non-terminating end boxcar became the foundation of the new per diem cars built in the 1970s. The 50-foot FMC cars also varied in door configuration and style to better suit each customer. These models can still be seen in today's model railroading scene as well as on the prototype. Now, the one that you see on your screen here, this is a 50-foot FMC offset double-door boxcar. This is a Burlington Northern, although its former owner was Union of Oregon. We'll be talking a lot about them tonight. This is car number 223532. And this is no longer available direct from Athearn. However, there are still some out there in some shops. The item number for this particular N-scale car is ATH 17258. Again, that's ATH 17258. Now let's talk about what we're going to be having available for pre-order, and you've got till Friday the 26th to place those pre-orders. So we've got some great roads that we're doing in both HO and N scale. Let's start out with the Camino Placerville and Lake Tahoe. This is a 1977 era car. The CPLT was owned by Michigan California Lumber Company. In 1986, the Southern Pacific abandoned the Placerville branch, eliminating CPLT's access to the National Rail Network. Scrapping of the CPLT commenced on September 3rd, 1986. So these cars were lettered for their original customer from 1977 till just after 1986. So if you want an interesting patch job for later in the 80s, you can definitely pick these up, or if you want to run them as is, they are ready to go. These are not prime for grime. These are factory fresh. Here we've got car number 7703. We're also going to offer 2 additional cars in N scale. These are all available separately. We're going to offer car numbers 7706 and 7728. Next is Texas, Oklahoma, and Eastern. This is a 2004 era car. The Texas, Oklahoma, and Eastern Railroad. Their reporting marks are TOE, is a Class 3 short line railroad owned by Patriot Rail Company of Jacksonville, Florida, with 39.3 miles of track in southeast Oklahoma. Now, obviously, we're offering the car that you see on your screen, as well as 2 additional cars. Car number 2654 is featured here. We'll also offer car numbers 2682 and 2684. And then I told you we were going to be talking about Union Railroad of Oregon. This is a 1979 car, so this is the original per diem car. The Union Railroad of Oregon was just one of the many short lines that took advantage of the incentive per diem boxcar program that came about in the late 1970s. The railroad contracted for 50 of these cars in 1979. The cars were originally painted, as you see here, in that really nice mint green with a darker green, and they had the distinctive logo that you see there applied to each side of the car. However, by 1986, the FMC boxcars found their way back to the leaser, who then transferred the cars to the Burlington Northern. If you remember the car that I showed you at the beginning of the program, that was the case. That was a prime for grind example with BN reporting marks. Now, this is car number 1501. We're also going to offer car numbers 1503 and 1502. Next is Galveston Wharfs. This is a 1977 on-up car. The Galveston Railroad is a Class 3 terminal switching railroad headquartered in Galveston, Texas. It primarily serves the transportation of cargo to and from the port of Galveston. On May 26, 2005, Genesee & Wyoming announced that it had agreed to purchase the railroad operations of Rail Management Corporation, or RMC for short, the parent company of Galveston Railroad. The G&W paid $243 million in cash and assumed $1.7 million in company debt to gain control of 14 short-line railroads from RMC across the southeast United States as of June 1st, 2005. So here we have car number 1144, and we're also going to offer car numbers 1179 and 1200. You'll also see on your screen we're offering the East St. Louis Junction, which is a 1977 era car. Car number 7704 is shown here, and 7716 and 7744 will complete the collection of the East St. Louis Junction. Now, just because you N-scale guys are modeling that little tiny scale doesn't mean you don't have prime for grime either. And personally, I love prime for grime and N-scale. It just makes our stuff look that much better, that much more authentic. And so here we go. We've got 3 different versions of prime for grime for you. Now, these are all Lamoille Valley prime for grime cars. The first one there you can see is an XUO, Union of Oregon, and this is a 1993 era car. Now, Lamoille Valley Railroad has the reporting marks of LVRC. You'll also notice 4140, which is a 2002 era car, and the Galveston Wharf's car, 2010. Now, fans of the Lamoille Valley may be scratching their heads, and don't worry, we're going to talk about that a little bit more when we get to the HO. But let's go back to our N scale and talk about the features of these cars. Now, these are Athearn N scales, so they're not going to be super detailed like the Genesis. However, these cars are great for anybody that models in a modular practice, whether it be T-Track, N-Track, Fremo N, or if you have a small layout like I do, that's great for operations. These cars are perfect for that. They have just enough detail to satisfy most demanding modelers without going so detailed that they can be easily damaged. Now, these will have roller bearing trucks. They will have machine metal wheel sets. Screw-mounted trucks. McHenry knuckle couplers are body-mounted. They're weighted for trouble-free operation, and they will operate on code 55 and 80. And from my experience, they will actually operate on code 40 as well. Minimum radius on these cars is 9 3/4, so you're going to have no problem running those on a small layout or any type of modular standard. There's two prices here. These are MSRP, so keep in mind this is manufactured suggested retail price. Contact your dealer for your price. Prime for Grime are $34.99 individually, and the regular factory fresh are $29.99 individually. So there you have it. There is the N scale. Now we're going to go to the HO. Now with the HO, we have the same road names and road numbers. So I'm not going to go into great detail on each one. However, we are going to cover that topic about the Lamoille Valley, because if you're anything like me, you were probably scratching your head when you saw some of those dates. Let's get started and dig in. Now, the car that you see on your screen here, this is actually still available. This is this car here, 52035, is still available at your local hobby shop. If your local hobby shop doesn't have it, make sure that they can call us direct and have that sent to them, because we have these in our distribution center. If you'd like to know the part number of this car, it is ATH 15883. Again, that is ATH 15883. Now, just like we did with the N scale, let's talk about what we're offering for this month. And again, you have until Friday the 26th to place those pre-orders. Now, pay close attention here. We're going to be talking about the FMC 5347s first. So the grouping is going to be a little bit different. FM3 5347, this has been in our model lineup for a number of years. And these are the two cars that we're offering in the 5347s. We have the Galveston Wharfs era 1977, as well as the East St. Louis Junction 1977. Once again, like the N-scale counterparts, they're being offered as singles with 3 road numbers in total. So just like the N-scale guys, same road names, same reporting numbers. You can see that on our website. You can also look at our new announcements and see that in the PDF. But for sake of repeating ourselves, we're just going to show you what cars are available. Now, this is where things start to get a little tricky. Let's move on to the next slide here. We're still in the FMC 5347s. However, we have a pair of Prime for Grime. Now, these are Lamoille Valley Prime for Grime cars. Now, I'm sure many of you are wondered about these cars and the reporting marks as well as the dates. Anyone that knows that the Lamoille Valley Railroad was part of the per diem craze of the 1970s. They also picked up these boxcars and simply patched out the reporting marks and road numbers and patched them as LVRC. But how could this be a Lamoille Valley reporting marks for some of these dates, including 2002 and 2010? And we all know that Lamoille Valley was gone by 1995. Well, the plot thickens. Let's look at these cars and let's back up some of this with proof, because our researcher who did the work on these cars really went down the prototype rabbit hole. And yes, Virginia, these cars do exist. Here we've got LVRC, which is a Eureka Western car, and we also have the Galveston Wharfs. Now, these are two different eras. The Eureka Western is a 2002 era car, and the Galveston Wharfs is 2010. Are you puzzled yet? Well, I was. Unfortunately, our researcher did some digging, and here's proof. Now, from the pictures where it never happened filed, Athearn researchers give you the following. Now, we can't take credit for these photos. They come from railroadpicturearchive.net, and we'll give credit where credit is due. In this case, LVRC 4140 was photographed by Dick Leonard in Harvard, Massachusetts on July 1st, 2002. Going back to that slide, you can see where our researcher got that information. Now, there are some things, I know there's going to be some sticklers out there because we're going to show one car that's got graffiti on it. Right now, Athearn's not doing that as part of their Prime for Grime, so don't get too crazy on us. But take a look at this Eureka Western prototype picture from 2002 and compare it to the artwork. Now, let's take another look at the other car. Likewise, LVRC 4213, Prime for Grime, and states it's appropriate for the era of 2010. Quite a few years after LVRC ceased to exist, actually. But here we go. Here it is as it appeared in East Deerfield, Massachusetts in November of 2010. Now, this image was photographed by Holden Baker. So again, these are based on prototype images that our researchers find. Many times we get accused of making things up as we go along. And that is certainly true with some of the roundhouse stuff that we do. But in a case like this, our researchers really do dig in. And so we figured it was a good thing to show you these, because if you were like me, at first glance, you'd say this is wrong because Lamoille Valley was gone by 1995. In fact, it's a biking trail now. Well, this is where the plot gets even thicker. Now, we'll go to some other cars and come back to talking about the Lamoille Valley. Now, big news for these Athearn cars is we have a brand new model. This is the FMC 5077. Now, if you're wondering, the original FMC boxcars were based on the old roundhouse cars from many, 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 many years ago. Now, if you've been modeling for 20, 30 years, you probably remember these cars, and you'll also remember that dimensionally they weren't correct. They were off. They were a little bit wider. They were a little bit taller. The roof pitch wasn't quite correct. These sins have been changed now. As a result, because of the way Athearn has been able to go in and refine both the 5043 and now introduce the 5077, we not only get you a new box car, and we get you the appropriate dimensions that are based on prototype drawings, we're also giving you the correct doors based on the prototype. Now here we've got the Camino, Placerville, and Lake Tahoe. Again, that's a 1977 era car. And for guys that are modeling in the 2000s, the 2004 era, Texas, Oklahoma, and Eastern. Again, these are available in 3 different road numbers, so you can get 3 each of these cars. Now we get to have some more fun at the expense of Union Railroad of Oregon. So we've got the, what I would call the factory fresh 1979 version of the Union Railroad of Oregon. The car that you see here is 1501. Remember, we're offering 2 additional road numbers, in this case 1503 and 1504. We also have the Lamoille Valley Prime for Grime version. Obviously a former Union of Oregon Railroad car. This one, however, does fit within the realm of possibilities because, again, Lamoille Valley was gone in 1995, but this car is dated 1993. Once again, in the category of pictures or it never happened, we have this wonderful picture that was posted And this is the example Richard Gibson provided. Now, this is a former Union Railroad of Oregon 5077 as it appeared in June of 1993. So what of the Lamoille Valley? Why are some cars still lettered for Lamoille Valley years after the railroad ceased to exist? There's still some conjecture on this, and our researcher is still researching it. But he did send me an email earlier this morning. And there's a really interesting article that you can find online about the Sierra Pine. The Sierra Pine Railroad short line eventually took these cars. And apparently he's found some pictures to prove that. And it sure seems like they've adopted or taken over the reporting marks for the former Lamoille Valley Railroad. It's pretty interesting. It also shows that there's almost a prototype for everything. So great work on our researcher on finding these cars and giving you, the modeler, a chance to find something that is rarely modeled. And really a neat, interesting feature. And definitely if you've got some guys, especially if they're from the New England region, and you run these cars and you tell them what years they're from, they might question you. So check out that article. You can find it on Google about the Sierra Pine Railroad. Now let's talk about the features of these cars. Now, like I was saying earlier, these are newly tooled bodies, and they're going to have road-specific doors. Again, these were based on the old model die-casting boxcars from many, many, many years ago. However, they're essentially a new car. So much work has been put into them. The product developers have made these the accurate dimensions, the accurate placement of all of those details. All of that's been upgraded. We haven't quite said that they're a new car, but they're basically a new car. These are also going to feature separately applied grab irons and end ladders with brake wheels, photo etched crossover platform, full underbody brake detail and piping. Of course, they're going to be weighted for optimum performance. They will include 33-inch machined metal wheels with RP25 contours, body-mounted McHenry operating scale knuckle couplers, and of course, as we've shown you here tonight, they're painted and printed for realistic decoration. Now, if you want to know the minimum radius on these, it's 18 inches, so it doesn't matter what size. If you've got a small 4x8 layout all the way to the biggest basement empire, you'll have no problem operating these. That includes your Fremo modules. Prime for Grime models are going to MSRP at $44.99. Factory Fresh are $39.99. Again, that's MSRP. That's manufactured suggested retail price. So you need to contact your dealer for your price. So there you have it. We have got some great stuff if you're modeling the 70s, and even some of the guys out there that are modeling around 2004. We've got some great stuff here for you. Again, you've got till January 26th, which, believe it or not, is next Friday. It's coming right up. So there you have it. Contact your dealer about these cars, and we're at the point of the show where we've got time for some questions. So let's see what kind of questions we've got out there. I'll be looking at the comments, and we'll also talk a little bit about the Springfield show, Amherst show. Robert J. Thomas would like to know, what are the build dates for these cars again? So, Robert, most of these are right in the middle of that per diem craze. So we're looking at 1977 and 79. So like the Union of Oregon cars are 1979. The Galveston Wharfs, the East St. Louis Junction, those are 1977. Really, the exception of the rule here is the Texas, Oklahoma cars. Those are 2004. So most of them are in the 70s. Jason is commenting with a rather fun comment. Says, Jim, take my dollars. My railroad of lies is in major need of boxcars. We'll have some patch for the Truthville Southern. That's neat. The Railroad of Lies. That is interesting. I like that name. Oh, let's see what else we've got. Robert says, thank you. You are more than welcome. Paul wants to know, any special announcements coming at the Amherst show? Yeah, I think so. I think we're going to have something. It's not exactly something you don't know. It's just something you've heard about. So you will probably hear more about the stuff that is being worked on. While I'm thinking of it, we're going to have a full house at Amherst. Of course, I'll be there. Our category manager, or basically the guy that keeps all of us in line, Mark Williams, will be there. And lead product developer, John Stackpole, will be there. He is the guy to talk to about stuff like these new FMC boxcars, because he put a huge amount of work into these. And then for the first time, Robert Kenderdine, he is one of our product developers and researchers, and actually came up with all this information on these really interesting FMC boxcars. So if you're from the New England area and you're a fan of the Lamoille Valley and you want to hear more about this, Robert has done more than his due diligence on the research of these cars. And we're looking forward to seeing you there at the Springfield show. One thing we'll talk a little bit more about the Athearn Extra is I'm doing something special for the Amherst show. Now, as you know, the GP18s are the locomotives that we introduced for the January month, and you have until the 26th to pre-order those. One of those locomotives was my hometown switcher, New England Southern. Now, since we're going to be in my neck of the woods at the Springfield show, and we're also going to be real close to the Boston, Maine Historical Society, who helped us with the research of that locomotive, I am going to have special stickers for the event. Now, they're only going to be available for the first 100 people that find me at the booth. I'm the only one that's going to have those stickers, and you'll get to take home a special New England Southern 503 sticker to go with, hopefully, your pre-order of your GP18. All right. I'm going to look back here in the comments and see what kind of questions you have. Will Athearn come to the great show in Washington, great train show in Washington? No, we will not. However, we will be on the West Coast this year because NMRA members, you probably know, Long Beach, California, which is where we originally, not originally, but where we had a point of operations for a number of years. Most of our researchers are on that side of the country, so we will be there, and you'll see myself as well as a few other guys from Athearn at that show. Let's see. I'm going back a little bit to see if there's anything that I missed while I was going back and forth with the slides. So I don't always see your comments when I'm actually doing the show. Couple of questions asking, are there going to be any undecorated or data only in either the HO or the N scale FMCs? No, not in this run. Maybe in the future, but not in this run. A couple of comments out there always make me giggle. All right. It looks like a lot of people were taking in what we were talking about with the FMC boxcars. Rogan says lots of cool details and information on these boxcars. More like this, and for the East Coast roads like Penn Central, Boston, Maine, RF&P freight cars, etc., through details, reviews for HO and N scale models. Yeah, don't worry. We'll be doing some. In fact, you're going to see some of those roads coming up next month. That doesn't mean we'll abandon the West Coast roads, though. We still have plenty of fans of West Coast roads, and you find folks in the South, we've got a lot of stuff that we want to get through down there as well. So, and of course, we don't ever want to forget our friends to the north. We've got a question. A keen eye observer wants to know about the locomotive in the back. Let's see if I can find his question again. Do I spy a DT&I locomotive and BC Rail boxcar in the background? You do. And those are now in stock. If you pre-ordered those, they should be here. These are in stock. Pictures are on our website right now, but there's the DT&I, and you can't really, the camera doesn't do it really a lot of justice, but check out the wear we've got on this. Now, these are Athearn. These are ready to roll, but they are beautiful examples, and they are available now, these SD38s. And, of course, the British Columbia boxcar, yes, that is in stock as well. Any news on arrivals? If you've been to our website lately, it's starting to get better. You can start to see what the web team has been working on. They are starting to show some arrivals. However, if you're not seeing what you're looking for with the date that you're looking for, you can always contact us through social media and ask there. I will endeavor to do my best to get you an answer. Train Jack wants to know, what is the update for the Amtrak Operation Lifesaver? Last week, I think, the Athearn team posted a picture from the factory of that locomotive. So that means we are getting very close. I would say probably by the time we get back from the Amherst show, you're going to have about another week or two and they'll be in stock. So I think they're actually, if they haven't left the factory yet, they will be soon. All right. JD Boyd, I cannot confirm that. I do know that John has been working on that little guy. I don't think we're going to have anything there to show you, but you can definitely talk to John about it. He's been working very hard on that model. We're going to have some other surprises there for you. Some of the stuff you've probably seen, and most of the stuff that we'll be showing will be available at vendors at the show. However, myself, as well as Robert and John, we're all bringing something that you guys haven't seen yet. So be sure to stop by the booth. Let's see. So I'm getting a lot of requests for shows, and I get this from emails, and I get this from everything else about us going to shows. So honestly, Athearn is a pretty small team. I am the only marketing guy, and there's a couple of product developers, and of course Mark. Like I said earlier, he pretty much keeps sure that we're all doing what we're supposed to be doing. So we don't really get a chance to get out of the office that much. And that being said, we try to go to the really big shows. Now, a lot of people in the past would debate how big Amherst is. I can tell you that Amherst consistently brings in anywhere between 20 to 25,000 people in a weekend. So it's very easy for Athearn to say, yeah, we're going to go to that show. Same can be said for TrainFest, although I do know right now TrainFest is kind of up in the air. If TrainFest does indeed not come back, that means that next year, 2025, Athearn's going to be looking for a substitute. So if you think your show in your neck of the woods is worthy of having some of us come on out, even if it's just me, usually for the Rocky Mountain Train Show, it's just me. Go ahead and get in touch with us. Go ahead and go to our website. We do have a contact us page, and you can send us some information. We can look it over, and we may be able to just schedule that for 2025. Wish I could make all of them, although I probably wouldn't have any money for food or groceries or gas at the amount of train shows that I could go to. Absolutely, he does. Yes, he does have his hands full with us. Now, Benjamin is asking about some 50-foot high-side gondola. So I've seen your requests. John has seen your requests. It's one of those things, and I do like to remind everybody, we do have that Athearn product suggestion email, and we do appreciate your input. please, though, try to remember that just because you send your request in doesn't necessarily guarantee you that we're going to produce it. There's a lot of things we have to consider before we actually bring something to production. Now, we do really like to hear your feedback. At the same time, we also want to make sure that what we're going to be talking about, what you want produced, is going to, in the end, help us keep the lights on. Now, Benjamin's got a really great example. That's a great example of something that is common. You can see pretty much all the time. That's probably something that we're going to do. Benjamin, I don't have an ETA for you on those, but I do know that we have been looking into them. And who knows, maybe we'll surprise you sometime this year. No on the polo shirts. Probably won't be doing polo shirts. I'm trying to do something else, though, and I'm hitting some roadblocks. So hopefully I'll have something for you guys at some point. No train shows in Canada this year. No, we're not. Our next show is going to be the Rocky Mountain Train Show. That's in Denver, Colorado. That is a great show. That's another one. Not as big as Amherst, but they do a really great job of that show. And there's so much to see in Denver. If you've not been to that show, maybe you can't make the Amherst show, go on over to the Denver show. It's a great show. Lots of cool things that you won't see necessarily at Amherst. And then, like I said, we're going to be at the Nationals. I'll also be attending the prototype meet in St. Louis this coming summer. And we're still kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with Train Fest. I'm not really sure. It's kind of up in the air. All right. Well, it looks like a lot of people have asked some great questions. And I thank you for joining me. If you don't have any more questions, I'm going to let you guys get back to it because you know what? Probably got some work on the layout to do. Now, don't forget everything that we talked about here today. You have until Friday the 26th. That's the day I'm setting up the booth at Amherst, by the way. So don't bug me at the booth. Go to your hobby dealer or call your hobby dealer and place those pre-orders. Then come back on Saturday and see John, Mark, Robert, and myself, and let's talk some trains. Don't forget, too, this Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central, I've got a very special Athearn Extra. We're going to talk about the Amherst show. We're going to talk about the GP18s, and Tony Cook is coming on board to help me out. So until next time, everyone, I want everybody out there to be happy, be healthy, do some good modeling, and above all, high greens. Take care, everyone.